2 of the preseason was the best either one of them looked that I saw for Cam. And I thought, Cam took the lead here. It's his job to lose, I thought.
Yeah.
And then he had to go through protocols for the unvaccinated.
Played a big factor.
He has not said that he first of all, he has refused to make public whether or not he's been vaccinated, calling it a private decision. We're in a public health crisis. I don't know why people insist on this idea that it's private. It's actually a public issue. But the protocols he went through are only for the unvaccinated. And he was having a good season last year with no preseason, no practice, new team, no receivers, no defense. He was having a good year and got COVID, missed the game, and was not the same for the rest of the season, to the point where we speculated maybe he has COVID fog. And then he came out weeks later and said, I just haven't felt right. Mm-hmm. And after that experience last year, he still went through the protocols only for the unvaccinated, where I thought he was winning the race, opening the door. Bill Belichick said the door was then open. Yep. This is the result.
Well, it opened up Pandora's box, right? And for this organization, I think one of the things for Bill Belichick and the Patriots organization, they started getting deja vu again, right, from last year, because they felt like they were doing good up until that point when Cam caught COVID and he had to miss that time. So for them, I'll tell you, Bill Belichick is the only person I know, and when we talked about this the other day, Mac Jones being a first-round draft pick, I think Bill Belichick is the only human being in the National Football League that will cut a first-rounder, cut a second-rounder, cut anybody on the football team, and nobody's ever safe.
Bug?
Here's the thing I'll say. First and foremost, Mac Jones won the quarterback job. Now, why they cut Cam Newton, was that Cam Newton asking to be cut if he didn't win the job because we knew that Cam Newton played so well in the preseason? That I don't know. But the one thing I think we can surmise from the tweet by Adam Schefter is that Mac Jones won the starting quarterback job. Now, why does the vaccinated or unvaccinated play into it? I'm not sure. Just strictly sticking from a football standpoint, though, I think we can surmise, and I think it's pretty easy, that Josh McDaniels, who's the offensive coordinator, and Bill Belichick, who's the head coach, have chosen to go with Mac Jones, which is the choice I thought they should have made all along. Now, as we fast forward with Cam Newton, where does Cam Newton go? Because if he doesn't want to be a backup in New England, where's he going to be a backup? Where's he going to be even challenged for the starting job right now? To me, that's a question that hopefully Cam Newton and his camp have figured out. I don't know if I don't quite understand why you cut him, though, because you have Brian Hoyer and you have Jarrett Stidham. Are you saying that Brian Hoyer is going to be your backup quarterback? Did Cam Newton ask to be cut? Like, these are questions that I'm still a little confused as we get this breaking news live right now. But I think the one thing I'm not confused about, Molly and guys, is that Mac Jones won the starting quarterback job in New England, which he should have.
For some reason, I don't know why my mind just goes to COVID, and maybe that if you need your backup to always be available, and with protocols, if someone hasn't been vaccinated, maybe you need someone that could be more reliable and can't miss 5 days. I want to go back to what you said, and then obviously I want you guys to jump in, because you said, Boog, that you felt Mac Jones should have been the starting quarterback all along. Tell me why.
Because Mac Jones gives Josh McDaniels, the offensive coordinator, and Bill Belichick, the head coach, to run the offense that they're more consistent and more comfortable with, similar to what they ran with Tom Brady. And if you go a step further, how does Mac Jones play the position? He throws the football with accuracy and timing, and he makes great decisions. Max, you said yourself, those are two of the most important components of playing the position. Bill Belichick told Mike Reese earlier today in the press conference what's going to go into making this job: consistency and playmaking. Consistency is not Cam Newton. Cam Newton has been anything but consistent outside of 2015. So all along, when you looked at all the factors, everything pointed to Mac Jones being the quarterback. Now, we still get amazed because we, as older people sitting on this panel and on national television, we think back to Cam Newton of 2015. That guy doesn't exist anymore. The MVP doesn't exist. He's wildly inaccurate with the football, and he's inconsistent. So all along, Molly, I thought Mac Jones gave this team the best chance to win because he's got playmakers, the 2 tight ends, the 2 wide receivers they signed in the offseason. He's got a tremendous offensive line. The defense is going to be better with Hightower back. I still need to see what's going on with Gilmore at the cornerback spot. But overall, Mac Jones is a plug-and-play guy with all the weapons around him. So I thought he was going to win the job regardless of whether Cam Newton was cut or not today.
And, Book, I agree with you to a certain degree. Like, I thought up till the point where Cam Newton had to miss that time that he didn't do anything to lose that that quarterback job to Mac Jones. But what he did do was open up Pandora's box, and Mac Jones took advantage of the situation. He went out in those joint practices. He performed in each one of those practices. Somebody said he completed 18 passes in a row. Listen, unless you're throwing routes on air, sometimes it's even hard to do that on routes on air because you have people who don't want to look the ball in all the time. But that's amazing to me. But what do coaches want their players to do? They want them to take things from the practice field to the game field. That's what Mac Jones did. And I'll say, you look at that last preseason game, Cam Newton didn't look sharp. I told you, he was throwing outside the numbers. He was skipping passes. Passes are low. And I told you, I did not like that interception that he threw at all. So I thought Mac Jones won this job the last week and a half or last week, not from the start.
Mac Jones, you made a reference, Boog, earlier to the most important things for a quarterback. I would just say arm strength and accuracy, those things are prerequisites. You know, you have to be able to make all the throws. You have to do it at a certain level of consistency. And then beyond that, you have some extra. But Mac Jones certainly has the requisite arm strength and accuracy. And once you have that, really what's the most important thing? Decision-making, the speed of the decisions and the quality of the decisions. And one thing about Mac Jones was he came to the Patriots, to Bill Belichick, as advertised. Went from Saban to Belichick as advertised, which is he made really good decisions really quickly, including, Boog, you mentioned it earlier, what plays not to try to make. He appears to have a wisdom beyond his years, and the fact that the Patriots have this kid with the 15th pick in the draft, Belichick didn't have to move up. Didn't even have to trade up to get him or
anything like that. Didn't have to lose draft capital or nothing.
It tells you something when Bill Belichick spends a first-round pick on a quarterback. That tells you something. The value is too great to ignore.
And all the guaranteed money, which he normally doesn't do in the offseason. Let's bring in the gentleman that broke this for us and has much more information. That would be the one and only Adam Schefter. Adam, give us the latest on this decision by the Patriots to cut Cameron Newton and make Mac Jones the starter.
Well, first of all, you heard
yesterday in talking about Nick and Quinn, just noting how very competitive that situation was. Is there any more clarity as to where that stands this morning?
Yeah, we'll announce all our transactions after we've made them.
Along the same lines, any more clarity on quarterback to start?
Yeah, same answer. Yeah.
And so Mike Reese joins us. If there's one thing Bill doesn't frequently do, it's more clarity, but I respect you giving it a try. But you've been around him long enough, Mike. Can you glean anything from that? Is there anything in the Bill Belichick dictionary that you took out of that gives us any light on where this is headed?
Well, Greeny, I don't know if you saw what I did there. I asked about the kickers first and then the quarterbacks, hoping that maybe that would lead us down the road that we were hoping to find out what he's thinking with Cam Newton and Mac Jones. So at the end of the news conference, I actually did ask him about Cam Newton because I thought maybe that would provide us maybe a little more context to what he's thinking. And he said of Cam that he certainly started at a higher point than he did last year. And he said he's definitely heading in the right direction. So if there was anything, Greeny, that I would glean from what Bill Belichick said within the last hour, it's that he's definitely still on board with Cam Newton, and he's still going through the process. I think back to what he said at the start of this with the quarterbacks. He said this is going to be about consistency and production over time, and I still do believe he's measuring this out before he makes his final call.
And at what point do you believe he has to make that final call? When will he have to know and his players have to know who the starting quarterback is going to be?
So they're going to start their preparations for the season opener around the start of the weekend. So call it Saturday, Sunday, Greeny. So we're within a week here because once they turn that page, Bill made a point yesterday when he was talking with the media. He said, you know, some people would say maybe you want to keep that decision away from the season opening opponent so they don't know. But he also said there's some value in your own team knowing so they have clarity in your approach and what you're deciding to do. So I would think by that point, we'll know.
Well, again, Mike Reese, if anything, will be out there seeking more clarity from Bill Belichick, no matter how hard it seems to be. Outstanding work as always, Mike. Thank you. Now, just how good are these Patriots going to be? Yesterday, we had Jeff Saturday here, and this was what he had to say about the direction he thinks the Patriots are heading.
I told the AFC, you better buckle up because the Patriots are rebuilding. Listen, Fox don't want to admit it. This is scary. You just heard what Dan said. They don't ask their quarterback to do too much because their offensive line is legit, their run game is legit, and their defense is legit. You just talked about the Ravens being a tough out. How about that Patriots out, man? I'm telling you, buckle up, folks. This thing could get ugly. And I ain't a fan. I don't want it. But I'm just telling you, it's slowly but surely happening.
Marcus, the point that he was trying to make was that with Mac Jones at quarterback, whenever that actually happens, it might be week one, it might be a little bit along the way, that he sees them building this thing back relatively quickly to something approximating what they've been for the last 20 years. Marcus Spears, do you?
Yes, and you know what? That's the fortunate part about listening to my colleagues. Even in disagreements, I learn things, man. And it's poignant. Obviously, we think highly of Bill Belichick and what they did this offseason to put whoever would be the quarterback in a great position. But it also sparked this thought of us having this conversation. There is no quarterback that's been drafted in a better situation than Mac Jones. And the reason why is because Mac Jones is not going to be asked to do half as much as these quarterbacks that we see in other destinations, which I think makes it even tougher for Bill Belichick. Actually having a good team, a good philosophy, and a way of going about doing things helps Mac Jones win this job faster. And that's something that sparked to me as we were talking. Yes, I don't think Cam did enough to separate himself. And yes, I don't think Cam did anything necessarily to lose it. But it was all about him taking steps to distance himself from Mac Jones, as opposed to just standing pat and continuing to say, hey, yeah, we can play good football with this guy. But more so, now that I've heard from Boog and I've heard from Jeff and Graz talking about this situation, actually, this is an easy decision to make for Bill Belichick, because you are so whatever quarterback it is, which I do believe is going to be Mac, you are so well insulated by what they have around you and how they want to play football games that it's almost easier for a younger guy to come in there and take a spot from a veteran.
Booger, let me ask it to you directly. When you sit and make a list of the teams you could see winning the AFC Championship this year, is New England on it?
If Mac Jones is the quarterback, yes. Greeny, I just believe in the kid and how he plays. And to take Swagu's points and take it to the next level, he's insulated. He's surrounded by so many things. He's got all the weapons with the tight ends, with Aguilar, with Bourne, all the weapons that they went out and get. But listen to what Mike Reese said that Bill Belichick commented that he wanted from the quarterback position. Consistency and production. Consistency is the one thing that I talked about in the first segment when we discussed this, that Cam Newton was not. So oftentimes, Greeny, if you listen to people, they'll tell you the answer right before your eyes. They told us the answer. He wants consistency. Consistency is something Cam Newton has not been outside of 2015. So if that's what you're looking for, then it's going to be Mac Jones. And I think if Mac Jones is the quarterback, with that defense, with the offensive line, with how they run the football, he's just got to be a great point guard, and he can do that. And Greeny, if that's the case, the Buffalo Bills are on notice as of this morning. As of August 31st, if Mac Jones is the quarterback, the Buffalo Bills are on notice, not just in the AFC, but in the AFC East, because New England is very capable of winning that division.
Yeah, we got Kansas City, and we got Buffalo, we got Cleveland, a lot of people like, and the Patriots. As you talk to people around the league, what is the general thought about Bill's ability to bring this thing back after one down year?
The general thought is that they're going to be a good team, and I think, people enjoyed last year when they were 7-9, because that was a little bit of a break from the Patriots being a good team. By people, I mean their competitors. But look, I think the offensive line is good. The defense is good. I think they're happy with either choice at quarterback in terms of the Patriots, the players, the coaching staff. So I think people do view them as a contender. In terms of a Jeff Saturday predicted 20-year run, might be going a little too far, but I understand he has some scars.
Yeah, exactly right. All you guys who went up against him all those years, you know what that was like, but it does look like he is building something very similar over again. We'll see where it goes. In the meantime,